Hello and welcome to WION Live Broadcast from New York City. I'm Susan Tehrani and these are the top headlines this hour. A second powerful 7.6 magnitude earthquake hits South Turkiye. This after the most powerful quake in nearly a century jolted Turkiye and Syria early Monday. The death toll crossed 1,800. India to send disaster relief personnel and equipment to assist with rescue work in quake-battered Turkey. France, Germany, and Taiwan have offered to send in teams as well. EU teams from Romania and Netherlands have already flown in. Beijing confirms that the balloon flying over Latin America is indeed Chinese. It says the device accidentally strayed over Latin America and the Caribbean, pointing out that U.S. shooting down a balloon over the Atlantic has seriously damaged relations. Global personal computing major Dell to slash over 6,500 jobs worldwide. That's 5% of its workforce. The company is facing plummeting demand for its PCs. Artists from India and Pakistan on a single stage at the 65th Grammy Awards ceremony. Show-stopping performances make a mark at the gala event. Another earthquake of magnitude 7.6 has hit southern Turkey at 1:24 p.m. local time. This comes as the death toll in this morning's 7.7 magnitude earthquake crossed 1,800. Reports now say over 1,000 are also dead in Syria alone. The second powerful earthquake hit southern Turkey with its epicenter near Elbistan. It also rattled Damascus and Latakia in neighboring Syria. Dramatic visuals emerged from Malatya, Turkey, where the second earthquake hit as a TV channel was live on air. Reporters were covering the damage from the first earthquake when another one hit and the team ran to safety. Looking back, the streets are instantly covered in debris and dust. Meanwhile, Turkey President Recep Tayyip Erdogan says that at least 912 people have died in the first earthquake that hit this morning, adding that rescue operations are still underway. Meanwhile, the official death toll in the government-controlled region of neighboring Syria has risen to 560. According to local media reports, the death toll is likely to climb as there has been major damage to thousands of buildings. Many people were asleep as the earthquake hit in the early hours of the day. Dramatic scenes of buildings toppling within moments were seen in Şanlıurfa, Turkey. Tremors were also felt in multiple countries, including Lebanon, Cyprus, Greece, Jordan, Iraq, Georgia, and Armenia. The earthquake struck at around 4:17 a.m. local time. It struck in Gaziantep, southeastern Turkey, and reportedly lasted for about a minute. Gaziantep is one of Turkey's key industrial and manufacturing hubs and borders Syria. The U.S. Geological Survey reported that another 6.7 magnitude quake in the region hit at about 15 minutes later. According to Syria's state media, several buildings were damaged in the northern city of Aleppo and the central city of Hama. In Damascus, buildings shook and many people rushed down in fear. Turkiye's vice president says the earthquake had a very high impact on the region. Meanwhile, Turkiye's interior minister called it a devastating earthquake.
Şu anda bütün valilerimiz görevlerinin başında, jandarma, emniyet, Türk Silahlı Kuvvetleri, AFAD ekiplerimiz, Kızılay ekiplerimiz ve şu anda Türkiye'nin birçok noktasından arama kurtarma ekipleri ilgili bölgelere sevk ediliyor.
Condolences have poured in from around the world. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi said India stands in solidarity with the people of Turkey and is ready to offer all possible assistance. WION has learned that the Indian Prime Minister has instructed NDRF to dispatch search and rescue teams along with relief materials to the country. French President Emmanuel Macron also took to Twitter to express his condolences. He added that France is ready to provide emergency assistance. Here's more from the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
भारत के 140 करोड़ लोगों की संवेदनाएं सभी भूकंप पीड़ितों के साथ है। भारत भूकंप पीड़ितों की हर संभव मदद के लिए तत्पर है।
For more on this story, our correspondent Ghadi Francis has sent us this report.
The people of West Asia have been once again united by calamity. Turkey woke up on the dawn of February 7th to a 7.8 magnitude earthquake that left hundreds of people dead, many still under the rubble, and thousands injured. Also in northwest Syria, hundreds were dead, thousands were injured as the cities of Latakia, Aleppo, and Hama were highly struck. Now, the quake was felt and did demolish some houses in Lebanon, but no fatalities were recorded. Also felt in Palestine, Jordan, Greece, parts of Cyprus, and also Egypt. I am Ghadi Francis signing up from Beirut for WION. World is One.
The U.S.-China tiff over the alleged spy balloon over the Americas gets more tense, and the latest, Beijing has confirmed that a balloon spotted flying over Latin America is Chinese. They called it a research balloon that had strayed from its designated path. Now, this comes after the United States shot down another balloon on U.S. territory. The U.S. believes it was an unmanned spy craft. However, China reacted angrily to the U.S. decision to shoot down the device. Beijing claims the balloon was an unmanned weather surveillance aircraft that had veered off course. Earlier today, Beijing acknowledged that the latest balloon spotted by U.S. and Colombian officials flying over Latin America during the weekend is also Chinese, which, according to China, entered the South American skies by mistake.
With regards to this balloon over Latin America that you've mentioned, it is understood and verified that the unmanned airship in question that came from China is of a civilian nature and used for flight tests. It was affected by the weather and has limited control of its own. The airship deviated from its intended route and entered the skies over Latin America and the Caribbean by mistake.
The balloon sparked outrage in the United States. The U.S. has accused China of an unacceptable violation of its sovereignty. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken ended up canceling his planned visit to Beijing. According to the Colombian Air Force, meanwhile, investigations are still being conducted in coordination with other countries. The balloon, which was shot down by a U.S. F-22 fighter jet off the coast of South Carolina, spent several days flying over North America. Beijing said the United States seriously impacted and damaged relations between the two countries by shooting the balloon down. It also lodged a formal complaint with the U.S. Embassy in Beijing. The Pentagon is expected to brief senators on the balloon and Chinese surveillance on February 15th. Republican lawmakers criticized President Joe Biden, asking why he waited so long to shoot down the balloon. Some accused Biden of showing weakness towards China. According to Chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, Republican Mike Turner, he believed that China was using the balloon to figure out how to counter U.S. nuclear weapons and missile defense systems. Well, for more on this, we are joined by Colonel David DeRouche, retired. He is a professor of Near East and South Asia for Center for Strategic Studies, National Defense University. He is joining us live from West Point, New York. Thank you so much, Colonel, for joining us. How did the United States and the Biden administration, in your opinion, react to this balloon flying over U.S. airspace? There's been a lot of criticism, notably in the days leading up to Biden's State of the Union address, while others say that he took the appropriate measures.
Yeah, well, that's a good question. I think that you have to look first at a security implication and then political implication. So security-wise, it would not make sense to shoot down a balloon while it's over the United States. The altitude the balloon is at, what comes up must come down. So if you shoot it down, it's going to fall, and it's going to fall over a large area and could, hurt American civilians. Right now, the debris field of the balloon in the ocean is about 11 miles. So that's a lot of territory to cover. So I think it is the right decision not to shoot it down over land. The second question is, why shoot it down at all? I think this is politically driven. Apparently, there have been other balloon overflights, but this one dipped down so low it was visually noticed by people in Montana, and that's what spurred the administration to action. President Biden's political opponents have been making the case that he is soft on China, that his son was involved in business dealings with China that may have compromised him, that one of the President Biden's Democrats on the House Intelligence Committee, Eric Swalwell, had an affair with a Chinese spy. So he could not afford a third perception of being soft on China. So I think that also played into his calculus.
Yeah, and on that, it was interesting that when the Biden administration made these claims that previous balloons had sort of crossed over into the United States, it was during the Trump administration. Trump administration officials so far, including John Bolton, said that he has no recollection of something like this happening. They've denied these allegations. So that's one part of it. The second part is, what in the world was China thinking? Where does this leave U.S.-Sino relations?
Yeah, well, I tell you, it's a tense moment, and I think the Chinese are overreacting in a way that, quite frankly, tips their hand. I mean, if it were a weather balloon, you would expect the Chinese to notify us, to say, look, we've got a balloon going astray, and then it can be dealt with. Does that matter? The Chinese are overreacting. They're citing it as a civilian airship, which in international law term usually applies to a manned aircraft, which, not an unmanned aircraft. They're trying to basically assert a right to overfly the United States, at an elevation, which I don't think anybody will agree to. The former Secretary of Defense, Mark Esper, said that he had no notification of this. And I tell you, I've known him since 1982. I've never known him to be anything but truthful. So, it's possible that there were other overflights and the notice didn't make its way up because, quite frankly, it's very hard to intercept a balloon at these sorts of altitudes.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for that insight, Colonel David B. DeRouche. We hope to talk to you very soon again.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
A former Manhattan attorney claims there is concrete evidence that could help a district attorney bring charges against former President Donald Trump. Mark Pomerantz, a former special assistant district attorney from Manhattan, was also on the team investigating Trump and his organization's business dealings. He made the claims during an interview with 60 Minutes On CBS, he claims that the most prominent evidence is that Donald Trump personally signed off on exaggerating his net worth to obtain favorable bank loans. He also alleges that the financial statements submitted by Trump to banks in those years were overstated by billions of dollars, and that Trump inflated the value of his properties to boost his net worth. Donald Trump calls the investigation as being politically motivated. Israel's justice minister says he would not freeze the legislative process for proposed judicial reform even for a minute. The comments come just a day after massive protests in Tel Aviv and other Israeli cities against the proposed reform. Critics say the reforms would curb judicial independence in Israel. Israel's justice minister, Yariv Levin, made his latest comments to a local media house. This followed a statement earlier in the day from Israeli President Isaac Herzog. The Israeli president called for the process to be temporarily halted. Herzog called to stop the whole process for a moment, take a breath, and allow for dialogue. The controversial planned reform has brought tens of thousands of Israelis onto the streets in nationwide protests. The plans aim to strengthen political control over appointments of judges, including the Supreme Court. At the same time, it intends to weaken the judiciary's ability to overturn legislation or rule against the government. The government of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu argues that the reforms are needed to curb overreach by judges. More bad news in the tech industry. Dell Technologies will cut over 6,500 jobs, shrinking its global workforce by around 5%. Dell's chief operating officer, in a memo to SAF, said the weakening demand for the company's personal computer is hurting the firm's revenues. The COO also said the global economic backdrop makes the future more uncertain. The layoffs come in addition to other cost measures already in place, including a hiring freeze and limits on travel. Dell expects the reorganization of its departments and job cuts to drive efficiency amid a gloomy global outlook. The computer maker is the latest among a long list of big U.S. firms that have cut thousands of jobs in recent months to ride out what they call a tough year for the global economy. Microsoft to Amazon to Goldman Sachs predict a hit to consumer demand for their products from rising interest rates and high inflation. Reuters reports show that job cuts in January in the U.S. hit a more than a two-year high. The pace of layoffs last month was also the second fastest on record as firms brace for a possible recession in the world's largest economy. Football's January transfer window hogged the headlines last week, and now it's the turn of the NBA. A huge trade deal has reportedly been agreed for eight-time All-Star Kyrie Irving. The Brooklyn Nets superstar is on his way to Dallas Mavericks. The 30-year-old has requested from the Nets to be traded last week after failing to agree on a contract extension. Irving has been controversy's favorite child, but there is no denying his skills on the court. He averaged a career high of 27.4 points per game last season. This season, he is averaging 27.1 points per game. And the Nets are fourth in the Eastern Conference. But their form suffered since an injury to the team's other All-Star, Kevin Durant. Irving's 4 seasons in Brooklyn have been rocky, to say the least, where one saga followed the other. He has suffered from injuries and missed the large part of last season due to his refusal to be vaccinated against the coronavirus. Most recently, he was suspended by the Nets after posting a link to an anti-Semitic film after he initially refused to apologize. The incident led to Nike ending its 8-year partnership with Irving. But Irving is looking for a fresh start in Dallas. And if terms are finalized, he will team up with All-Star Luka Doncic. The Mavericks reached the Western Conference Finals last season, but are currently 6th and need a strong push to secure a playoff spot. Irving can provide them just that. The Nets will receive Spencer Dinwiddie and Dorian Finney-Smith, along with a 2029 unprotected first-round pick, a 2027 second-round pick, and a 2029 second-round picks from the Mavericks. Nets fans are already familiar with Dinwiddie. The guard put up some recent performances in his earlier five-star stint with them in the year 2016. While the trade deal may somewhat impact long-term futures of the Mavericks, it does seem the right move for this season at least. When was the last time you saw musicians from India and Pakistan take the stage together? If you watched the 65th Grammy Awards, you would say, well, very recently. Indian satirist Anushka Shankar and Pakistani singer Arooj Aftab may not have collected a Grammy Award this year, but they certainly won hearts. Take a look.
All right, Grammys. Y'all trying to have some church up in here. How y'all feeling tonight? In this world, it's just love. You know it's not the same as it was. And when you need it, baby, just jump in the covers. When I say that the Pepper MC is here to stay.
Yo, you didn't hear it. Hip hop my music, hip hop my lyrics. Some say no to the album and show, but must have sound of 30 years ago.
We're celebrating happy 50th anniversary to hip hop, baby. We love you.
Well, that's all from us live from New York City. I'm Susan Tehrani. Thank you so much for staying with us and watching, but don't go away. More news and headlines coming up next on WION World is One.
Additional break,